Good afternoon. Some 5 years ago, we started talking about the 1951 Little League baseball team and wondering how we might share the story so that it would not be forgotten. We chose this Best Friends Festival as a time to make that statement because friendship is, in fact, the overriding theme of this festival. As we reflect on the summer of 1951, and believe you me, there are some folks here that do remember that, some of the most unlikely friendships were formed, define the norms in place in the United States at that time. At this time, I would call on the Reverend Leroy Kane to lead us in our invocation. Reverend Kane.
Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this very special occasion that has brought us together. And God, now we ask your blessings upon all of us. And as we pause to remember, we remember those that have gone on and remember those that are here. Thank you for this glorious opportunity. Bless it now. In your name we pray. Amen.
At this time, I would recognize the Honorable Joseph Fallbush, Mayor of the City of Norton, to give the official welcome. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor Raines, and you'll always be mayor to everybody here in Norton. I've always said Norton is the smallest city in Virginia, but we have the biggest heart in Virginia. And events such as this today just solidifies that belief that we do have the biggest heart here in Virginia. I am proud to be mayor of this town or city. I'm also proud of the turnout that we've had today. This is a historical marker will be unveiled shortly, and I'm very proud to be a citizen of Norton. I'm very proud of the actual baseball team putting this event together and recognizing the historic importance of this event. Thank you all for being here. It's good to be here, and I'll turn it back over to Mayor Raines.
He's the mayor, so send all your complaints to Joe, not me. We started this program some year back, and the first thing we did, we went to City Council to get their blessings to have this program. Dr. Canto and I spoke to Council, and they unanimously agreed that they wanted this project to happen in the city of Norton. And we do have with us William Mays. He's Councilman Williams here somewhere. I think Robert Fultz. Is Robert here? Yeah, Robert's back here in the back. Councilman. And Mark Crusoe, he's vice chair. I think he's out of town. And also Sarah Davis. I think she's indisposed today. But here again, we do appreciate our city council for their leadership and their vision and allowing something like this to take place. The next speaker we have is certainly someone no stranger to Southwest Virginia. In fact, if you look at projects up and down Wise County and many in the city of Norton, you'll find his thumbprint on those through the Tobacco Commission, through legislation that he's actually worked on our behalf in the state level. And, we just called him one of our own, even though, Terry, I don't think we were able to vote for you in the city, but that's going to be changing. But at this time, it gives me great pleasure presenting to you the Honorable Terry Kilgore, State Delegate, District 1. Terry.
What a great occasion to be with you all today. And thank you, Mayor reigns, and I agree with Mayor Fallbush. You're always going to be the mayor. So we appreciate all your hard work and all your hard work of the city in getting this occasion together. You know, 1951 was a long time ago. I was born in 1961. I'm 60 years old. So just think about the times then, and think about the area that we had then. You know, it was a coal mining area, hard work. But that's what it was all about, because when we have all the hard work together and folks working side by side, whether it's in the coal mines or the factories, they come together as a family. And that's exactly what happened in 1951 here when the folks came together and formed this Little League. This is, just they were thinking so far ahead of where we needed to be as a nation, so far ahead of where we needed to be as people. And we really appreciate all the forward thinking that happened at that time. But it was just it's a great honor for me to be here, just to play a small part here today in honoring that 1951 team, honoring that team that broke the barriers so that we can send a message down to Orlando. I think Orlando was claiming that their team in 1955 had the honor of being the first, but we are the first here, and soon we'll be designating this beautiful monument. So I'm proud to be here with you, proud that our friends wrote a great article yesterday about this, so that the rest of the state, the rest of the Commonwealth could see what went on here in far Southwest Virginia. Now it's my time to introduce our Congressman, Congressman Morgan Griffith. Morgan and I were elected the same year in 1993 to serve in the House of Delegates. He was my seatmate for years, and then something happened and he decided he wanted to go to Congress. I don't know what happened there, Morgan, but should have stayed with me. But great to have you here. I know traveling the 9th District is 5 and 6 hours long if you start from one end to the other, and it's great to have you here to dedicate this marker today. So give our Congressman a warm welcome.
Thanks, sir. I had to leave the legislature so Terry would get to be majority leader. That's going to be my story. I'm going to stick to it. I have to tell you, when I was invited to be here today, I told my team immediately, yep, we're doing that one. This is a big deal. And I count myself as part of Southwest Virginia, although I know a lot of folks down here don't consider Salem part of Southwest Virginia. But I chose to go to Emory and Henry College, and I chose to live here, and I chose to be a part of Southwest Virginia, and I love Southwest Virginia, and I love the Southwest Virginia people. And I did not know about this story, so I have to apologize to the people of Norton that I didn't know about this story till a few years ago. Dwayne Yancey, then at the Roanoke Times and now with Cardinal News, wrote a story. And Terry's absolutely right. Ralph Barrier's article in the Cardinal News yesterday or today is just fabulous. And what it says is that we were ahead of Florida in doing the right thing, in recognizing that if people want to be involved in something, it doesn't matter their color, their national origin, their creed, they ought to be able to be involved, and there ought not be these barriers. And Norton was the first in the South in Little League to tear down those barriers. So why don't we know more about it? I have a theory. We're going to find out from people who may actually know the real story. But I have a theory that the reason we haven't heard more about it in the past is, while there was some kerfluffle and Charlottesville was not yet enlightened enough to understand what was right, if people want to play baseball, they ought to be able to play baseball. But while Charlottesville didn't understand, the people around here understood it to such an extent that it wasn't seen as a gigantic issue. There were a few murmurs here and there, according to the stories, but it wasn't seen as something that was dramatic or horrid or something that, might not ever happen again. It was just people working together to achieve something, to achieve that state championship as a city, as a community, all united together. What a great community you all have. You all need to be proud of it. You are proud of it. That's why we're going to do the marker here today. And I am proud to represent Southwest Virginia, and on this day, particularly proud to represent the city of Norton. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Congressman. The next speaker we have has done a lot of work in the past few years on this program and really on the legend of this historical team. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. William Canto, who will give his thoughts from the historical significance of 1951. Bill.
I want to share something with you. I'm scared to death. Nothing is worse than coming back to your hometown and talking about something that is so dear to your heart and hope that you don't screw it up. I'm going to do my best. Please tolerate me as I work my way through this. Mayor Raines, honored guest, and I consider everybody here an honored guest. That way, I don't have to identify the honored guest. I won't forget somebody. I won't miss their name, and I won't miss their title. You're just all honored guests. I also want to thank Mayor Raines and Fred Ramey for what they did to keep this story before us. It started 4 years ago with a reunion that Mayor Raines and Fred arranged in the Norton Elementary School, and then progressed to what we're going to see today. They have done a great job in keeping the story before us and the moral of the story. I also want to acknowledge two people who are not here today because of health reasons, Dr. Charles Henderson and Dr. P.D. Miller. Both of these gentlemen are natives of Norton, and in fact, Dr. Miller played on the 1951 All-Star team. They felt that even though we had had the event in 2018, there needed to be something else to remind this community of what had happened in 1951. And to that effort, they started a campaign to raise money so that this marker could be erected and people could see it. They felt it was important for three reasons. One, it was a significant event in the history of Norton. Two, it was one small step in the path of equal rights. And three, we needed to acknowledge those folks who had led us as we were doing this. And those folks were, of course, Dr. Charles Litton, who, when he read an article in the Saturday Evening Post about Little League Baseball, said, I want to have a Little League Baseball in Norton. And he got four managers. Jack Hatcher, who managed the Kiwanis team, for which I will always be grateful because Mayor Raines, Norman Payne, and Johnny Blair and I played on the Kiwanis team. Moon Mullins, Reed Simmons, and Ralph Bradley. There were four teams: the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club, the Junior Women's Club, which Judge Stump hates because he had to run around with a jersey that said on his back, Junior Women, and the Boosters Club. So, you probably have heard a lot of stories about what happened. Certainly Lynn Sutter has written some wonderful articles, as has Mike Steele. We mentioned the Cardinal News story. The folks from WCYB who were so kind to come over and interview and run it. So you've heard a lot about this story. But I'm going to tell you what I think about the story and maybe share with you some things that you don't know. Bear with me. In order to understand the significance of 1951, you need to understand the environment that existed in 1951. World War II had ended 6 years previous. It had been a war that exhibited the horrors of racism. In 1947, Truman had integrated the military. In 1947, Jackie Robinson signed a contract with the Brooklyn Dodgers. playing first with Montreal and then the next year with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And shortly after that, almost every major league team added an African American to their roster. It sounds like a good story. But wait, that's not what was happening, particularly in the South. We were living in a Jim Crow era in the South. We lived in a segregated society. There were separate water fountains, separate toilets, separate schools. In fact, the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education had not occurred. And when it did occur, Virginia adopted a strategy of massive resistance, even going so far to close the schools rather than to integrate them. In this environment and against this backdrop, Dr. Litton, Jack Hatcher, Reed Simmons, Moon Mullins, and Ralph Bradley decided that we were going to have a little league in Norton and everybody was going to play regardless of their color. Why did they do this? Why did these 5 men take that stand in this community at that time when the prevailing wisdom was against it? I want you to remember 4 characteristics of these men: principle, courage, intestinal fortitude, and resoluteness. We'll come back to those. It's a good question to present. Why did they do it? One reason is I think they loved baseball. And baseball was a very important game. I know that Dr. Litton loved baseball very much. He lived in an apartment on 12th Street, and I delivered papers to that apartment. But he would not take a newspaper from me if I did not put the night baseball scores on a slip of paper and put it in the paper when I delivered it, because the paper I was delivering went to bed too early. So they absolutely loved baseball, and baseball was very important in this area. Read Lynn Sutter's book, Ball, Bat, and Bitumen. There were all the coal camps had baseball teams. Dixiana and Dorchester were particularly favorites of ours, and I remember crossing Dorchester Hill to go watch the baseball being played over there. So baseball was important. And I think that Dr. Litton and his managers realized the importance of boys being able to play on a team together. And they were not going to prohibit anyone from playing because of their skin color. So they had tryouts. The tryouts occurred just to the east of here. It was a Little League field at the time. And 2 African-American kids came to the tryouts, and they were asked to go back and find some more kids to come play. Eventually, 4 African-American kids came across those tracks, tried out for our teams, and were selected. We had 4 teams: the Kiwanis, the Lions, the Boosters, and the Junior Women. And each one of them had an African-American player on it. Now, I want you to pause a minute and think with me about this. Think of the courage it took those men to decide to do this when it was not the prevailing wisdom that was the thing to do. They had great courage. But before you break your white arms patting yourself on the back, let's remember the courage that had to be exhibited by those young African-American kids who came across those railroad tracks and played baseball. And we all played baseball. And I can tell you, and Norman will echo this, that we rooted as hard for Johnny Blair when we were playing another team as we did for anybody else. We were teammates. We were teammates. And we played as a team. And after the game was over, if we won, we walked across Park Avenue to either the Breezy or the Dairy Queen, and together had a hamburger or a frozen custard. It was a great time. We played baseball. We enjoyed each other's company. We made some strides. And then the time came for the All-Star. Well, one of the things that happened was Johnny Blair and Harold Mitchell were named to the All-Stars. So now not only did we have an integrated Little League, but we had an integrated All-Star team. And then the beast from the East came toward us and upset or tried to upset everything. You've probably read in Lynn Sutter's articles or Mike's articles, and if you haven't, in Lan Molesky's iconic article in the Virginia Cavalcade, or the more colorful article by Bobby Jenkins about what probably happened. I'm going to give you my rendition of what I think happened. And the first thing I think happened is the beast from the East called Dr. Litton. Here's the telephone conversation. Beast from the East. Hello, Dr. Litton. We're looking forward to you joining us in the tournament for the state championship. But I need to tell you, we won't allow any African-American players to play. Dr. Litton. We named two young boys to our team, and they're going to be on our team. And if you won't play us, we're going to call it a forfeit, and we'll be state champions without playing a game. Beast from the East. Whoa, Dr. Litton, just a minute. Let's talk about this. Maybe we can work out a compromise. Why don't we call you the Western Division champ, and then we have a playoff with the other teams for the Eastern Division champ? Dr. Litton. Okay, we can do that. Beast from the East. Now, Dr. Litton, you realize that you can't play those African-American players in this state because it's against the law. Dr. Litton. Well, if you don't want to play us there, play us in Norton. Chief Ray Wells won't arrest anybody for playing on an integrated field. His son's been playing all year with us. Beast of the East. Okay, we'll play you in Norton, but we won't stay in your hometown. Dr. Litton, I don't give a damn where you stay. Just make sure you show up for the game. Well, most of you know the history. They came to Norton. They were treated royally. The town turned out. There were parades, convertibles that they could ride in, picnics, luncheons. And we played not on the Little League field, but across the tracks on the Norton Municipal Field, which was adapted for Little League baseball. I bet you know the rest of the story. Behind the pitching of Rapid Robert Lively, who struck out 9, and that was 9 in 6 innings, and the hitting of the catcher, David Wood, who hit a home run and 2 singles and drove in 4 runs, Norton won 12-3. So there's the story. I'd like to tell you that we went on to even greater things later, but that would sully this day if I told you about the next game. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let it stand with what I've shared with you already today. And I'm going to remind you of the characteristics that I wanted you to remember. First off, principle. Dr. Litton and his managers had principle. That principle was equality for all. Everyone could play baseball. They were not going to prohibit anyone from playing. Courage, because they took that stand at a time when it was not popular in the Commonwealth and certainly not popular in the South. And intestinal fortitude, to stand their ground when they were assailed by the beasts of the East, and the fortitude to not back down under any circumstances. So that's the story that as I know it. Thank you for letting me share it with you. I think we need to appreciate what those gentlemen accomplished. I think we need to remember those principles of principle, courage, intestinal fortitude, resolution. And, you know, maybe, just maybe, we need to emulate them today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Canto, for that story. We do not have any of the original ones that he talked about as far as the leaders of the 51 team, but we do have some sons and some daughters that we'd like to recognize the family. First of all, he talked about Dr. Litton as being the league president, the leader of that. And we do have with us Nancy Litton. Nancy, would you stand up, please? The blue shirt, that's Nancy. Also, we had Gene Mullins. He coached the Lions. And we have David Mullins. David, you and your family stand, please. Ralph Bradley. We do have Freddie Bradley here. Freddie, you and your family stand, please. Did Hunter or Scott Hatcher make it here? Good. Hunter, Scott Hatcher, Jack Kaiser. And Jack was the coach here again, as Dr. Canto alluded to, my team, the Kiwanis team. And certainly we appreciate you guys. Reed Simmons, he coached one of the teams, but we have no information on him. Really don't know what happened after that as far as recognizing any of his group. But anyway, we do appreciate you all making the effort to be here, because really this program is about you, about the fortitude, about the resolve, and about the vision that was had in that summer of 1951. The next speaker we have is one that we've heard before. And this would have been 4 years ago, and we're glad that she's back with us again. Tara Blair White. She is the daughter of Johnny Blair, and of course we're all prejudiced to Johnny because we knew Johnny probably Judge Stump better than we knew the rest of them, because he was on our team and we saw him and was with him every day. But we do have Tara Blair White that will give her family remembrance of the 1951 Little League season.
Thank you. When I was notified about this event and then asked if I'd be willing to speak on behalf of my father, I had to start thinking about what I was going to say again. So I started calling my family, my Aunt Grace and my Uncle Bobby. I had to get some background on the growing up and the childhood of my dad here in Norton. We all knew that my dad loved baseball. There were days I remember growing up on Southside that we would all gather at what used to be called the CC camp, family, friends, and we would stay there all day watching baseball. You know, food would be on the grill, kids would be running and playing, and there would be ball playing all day long. But I am forever grateful for those days. I don't think my 12-year-old father understood the significance of the moment he was chosen to be on the All-Star Little League team. There were 100 kids that showed up, Dr. Canto. 4 of them were black. 1 of them was my father. All Dad knew and understood at that time, according to Grace, was that he was playing baseball and he was playing it with his friends. The love for the game extended all throughout my childhood and on to my son. Dad would make special trips to North Carolina to watch Roman and sometimes coach him when he was playing ball. who was also an all-star on the Union County 12U All-Star Little League baseball team at home in Waxhaw, North Carolina. Dad always would tell him, I played Little League too. I was an all-star too. But at that time, we didn't know and never understood about the history of that team my dad played on. We all know that sports can bring people together. You can see it here, despite the differences that exist within our own society. And that 1951 Little League baseball team is a prime example. My aunt mentioned back then that watching so many people cheering for my dad and Harold Mitchell the day they won was so exciting, and it was a major step toward inclusion. We are very proud of my dad and the legacy he created, unbeknownst to him, by simply playing the game he loved. This marker will forever be my dad's memory and will have the historical significance of the 1951 Little League baseball team that he was a member, relevant for upcoming generations of Little Leaguers here in Norton. I would like to thank my Aunt Grace, my Uncle Bobby for providing the stories and the background and about my dad's childhood and about this team. I would also like to thank Robert Raines, Fred Ramey for continuing to keep this history alive. My Aunt Grace said one time, this can't be forgotten. It's just too important to forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. She has spoken about one player that played on that team. At this time, I would like to recognize the players that played on that 51 baseball teams that's here with us this evening. Judge Stump, Bobby Stump, just wave your hand. We don't have to stand up. Norman Payne, Norman's here. Jimmy Jenkins. Of course, Dr. Canto. And I was fortunate enough to play on that team. Do we have any other players that played in the 51 team that's here that I've missed? Here again, we do appreciate this group coming out because here again, this is part of your story too. You helped write this story. But here again, Tara, we just appreciate the comments made about your dad and about your family. And I can't leave her family until I repeat what Grace Livingston said at our reunion. She gave a beautiful speech, but in it was one word that she said, one phrase. She said, you know, this was a giant little step. And here too, she has told me many times, this is part of our Black history too, and we don't want to forget it. At this time, we'll have comments from our Little League program. I think we've got two speakers that's going to share some information with you on the Norton Little League team. And I'll just share with you, we have had the charter since 1951. That's the longest charter on Little League in the western part of the state. And during all that time, all the teams have been integrated. So at this time, I'll introduce to you President of the Norton Little League, David Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Raines, for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be up here today. I've got a letter here from the president, Stephen Keener of Little League International. It says, Dear past and current members of the Norton Little League, I congratulate all players, volunteers, and league alumni celebrating the 70th anniversary of Norton Little League's 1951 Virginia Little League Baseball State Championship. From its humble beginnings, the Norton Little League has grown to be more than a baseball and softball games. It is equal parts leadership training program, family entertainment activity, and community development organization. It is all because of this it has been blessed with an incredible corps of forward-thinking, groundbreaking volunteers working at local level, board members, coaches, umpires, concession stand workers, ground crews, the people who put Little League program into action. By choosing to stare down segregation and promote inclusion and opportunity, the people of Norton exemplify how Little League is for everyone. You and your counterparts in thousands of communities worldwide are the reason Little League is the world's largest and most respected youth sports program. I have little doubt that in the decades since the fateful 51 season, you have seen the fruits of your labors. The fun at being in games, the thrill of seeing children play and learn, and the pride of knowing your community has come together to provide them with healthy, fun activity. It is my sincere hope that the memories and life lessons taught through the choices made and fortitude shown by Norton Little League so many years ago have served your community well. May all the children who have been shaped by your commitment and legacy serve others so that the impact continues without end. Sincerely, Stephen D. Keener, Little League President and CEO. I'm not much of a speaker, so I have invited a dear friend of mine and a coach and board member, Mr. Lamar Steele, to come up and speak on behalf of Norton Little League.
Wow, what an honor to be here today, and I'm very blessed. And thank you, Mr. Raines, for having me, and Dave. Myself, I started at Norton Little League many years ago, and I was seen as somebody who wasn't seen as color, and I appreciate that from my coach, he's here, is Lev Smith. He started me when I was a little kid, and I appreciate that. Growing up city in Norton, we face a lot of challenges here for everybody here. When I was a little kid, I didn't see as I was playing with somebody that was African American or white. I just seen, playing with it as a friend. And now that I have 3 girls, so I switched a little bit. I'm not baseball, I'm more softball. I didn't have boys, so I had to switch to softball and stuff like that. And to be able to have people to pave the way to where I can coach my little girl now and their team, which we had a successful year, winning tournament champions, District 13 champions, and second state of Virginia. Was very honored to do that. Thank you. And like I said, I just want to thank everybody here who's paved the way for me to be able to do what I love to do. Because if it wasn't for you guys, who knows where we'd be today. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Appreciate those comments from Little League. It's always good to hear from Little League headquarters. After all the money we sent them all these years, they at least wrote us a letter, so thankful for that. But here again, how many Little Leaguers do we have out there? Raise your hand, please. Got several. Here again, we appreciate you coming and sharing that with us today in terms of what we're doing here. As indicated, some of the district administrators weren't here because of a meeting in Newport, Williamsport. One of the persons that we missed, he passed away about a year ago, was Bob Huff. But we do have Bob's sister here. I thought I saw, where are you? Wilson? Miss Wilson here? I thought I saw her earlier. But anyway, Bob Huff was a local historian for us, and basically he kept a lot of history for us that related to Little League baseball in Southwest Virginia. At this time, I would like to get Lamar Steele and the other person that's going to be doing the Bentley Lewis. If you two would beat David up here to my right, your left. And while they're getting ready to unveil the marker, there are some folks that I need to recognize. Raylyn Teasley. Sorry about that, Raylyn. Several people have been recognized already as really doing an outstanding job as far as advertising and getting us ready for this. Mike Steele, again, we appreciate Mike, the article he wrote. Jacob Dillinger and his crew from Public Broadcasting System, he's here filming this. And here again, they are planning a documentary. Cardinal News, Ralph Barriers made reference to him. He has a beautiful article if you get a chance to read that. And of course, Heather Williams, she's back with us again today. She did the interview that was on WCYB Channel 5, and she is here again today, and we certainly appreciate that. Rick Colley with the Best Friends Festival, working with him to plan this in as part of the activities. Ashley Addison, she's been circulating with a camera, taking shots, so she is the official photographer, and she'll end up taking more shots as we move through the rest of the program. And of course, we've mentioned Lan Molesky and Bobby Jenkins, keeping it alive as far as their writings go. There's a couple of people that really went beyond what we asked to do to make this successful. Lynn Sutter, we asked her if she'd be interested in approaching this in writing, and she did a beautiful, beautiful job. Lynn, would you stand up, please? She's in the back waving her hand. Lynn, beautiful article. We appreciate your efforts in really bringing the store forward, and it was printed in 2 editions of the Coalfield Progress and Forgotten Fields, if I think that's the title of your article, Forgotten Fields. Fred Ramey. Fred could not be here, but you see the results of not only what Fred's done, but the city crew in pulling all this together to make it happen, to have a nice place that's on city property that we can actually control in terms of a marker such as this that depicts that time in history. So at this time, if I'll have my 2 Little League players, if they will, approach the marker. And before they unveil it, I'll let them get ready. And before they unbrave it, let me make this announcement. Basically, what we'd like to do very quickly once it's unveiled, pictures are taken of these 2 Little Leaguers unveiling the marker. I would like to get a picture of all of the speakers on today's program, because if we don't get this picture now, we'll probably never have a chance to get it again. The second group is family members of Dr. Litton and the 4 coaches. If you all would come up with the second group, because we would like to get a picture of you, because really that's the group that put it together. And of course, that was your fathers. And consequently, they worked to make this happen, and we want to recognize them through you. So here again, we asked that group would be the second group. And then the third group, we'd like a picture of all of the 1951 Little League players that played their shot on the marker, and then that's it. After that, we're done. But before we get to that point, at this time, I would ask that the Little League players unveil the marker. I know you can't read it from there, but let me read it to you. 1951, first integrated Little League baseball teams in Virginia. Just south of this sign was the baseball field of the 1951 Norton Little League teams. Under the progressive leadership of Dr. Charles Litton, league president, team managers Jack Hatcher, Eugene Mullins, Ralph Bradley, and Reed Simmons, the first Little League baseball team in Western Virginia, were organized and open to all young boys regardless of color of the skin. Thus, each of the 4 teams in the league included an African American. The All-Star team chosen at the end of the season included 2 African Americans. Initially, the team was barred from the playoffs if they remained integrated. The leadership of Norton Little League held firm and refused to remove the African Americans All-Stars from their team. Finally, a compromise was reached. The integrated team played at Norton Municipal Stadium and won the Virginia State Championship by defeating Charlottesville, the Eastern Division champs, 12-3 on August the 4th, 1951. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Reverend Leroy Kane again for our benediction. Reverend Kane.
Let us receive our benediction. Now may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance to you and give you all peace. Amen.